My brother died before I was born. They named me after him. They showed me pictures, told me stories. And every birthday they looked like they were mourning, not celebrating. His name was Adam. He was 10 when it happened. A swimmer. Fast, competitive, always chasing the next medal. Bright, loud, confident in the way that makes parents beam with pride. One car accident on a Tuesday afternoon, and he was gone. 2 years later, I was born. And in their grief, they gave me his name. I used to wonder if they looked at me in those first moments and saw him. Did they expect me to have his eyes? His smile? Did they think love alone could resurrect the dead? Think about this. What would it feel like to know that your existence began as an attempt to replace someone else? Our house was a museum. Every wall was a shrine to a boy I never met, but whose presence dominated every room. Picture this. You're 6 years old, proud of a drawing you made at school. You run home excited to show your mom, ready to tape it to the refrigerator. But the fridge is covered. Not with your artwork. It's covered with his school projects from 15 years ago. His perfect handwriting assignments. His swimming certificates. Mom, can we put this on the fridge? She glanced at it, then at the fridge. It's full, honey. But it wasn't full. There was space. What she meant was, there's no room for you when he still lives here. The photos were everywhere. Adam at 5, grinning with missing teeth. Adam at 8, holding up a fish. Adam at 10, just weeks before the accident, blowing out birthday candles. I used to stare at those photos, studying his face like I was looking for clues. What made him so special? Why did his memory deserve more space in our home than my living presence? Here's what I want you to consider. How many of us grow up feeling like we're not quite enough? For most people, that standard is abstract. For me, it had a name, a face, and a permanent place of honor in our living room. I learned early that rebellion wouldn't work. How do you compete with perfection frozen in time? So I became the perfect child. Straight A's, clean room, polite to adults. I played sports, not swimming, that was his territory. I volunteered, never missed curfew, never gave my parents reason to worry. I thought if I was good enough, maybe they'd finally see me. I remember getting my college acceptance letter. Full scholarship. I burst through the door, practically vibrating with excitement. Mom, Dad, I got in full scholarship. My mom hugged me, and for a moment I thought this was it. Then my dad said, your brother would have been so proud. Not we're proud. Your brother would have been proud. Even my biggest achievements were filtered through his memory. I graduated valedictorian. Adam would have loved your speech. I got my first job. Your brother wanted to be an engineer too. I bought my first car. Remember how excited Adam got about cars? I wasn't their son. I was their second chance. Their attempt to rewrite a story that had ended too soon. Let me ask you, have you ever felt invisible in your own life? Like you're performing in a play where everyone knows their lines but nobody gave you the script. Living as a replacement child creates unique pressure. You're not just trying to be yourself. You're trying to honor someone else's memory. Every choice became loaded. If I didn't swim, was I rejecting his memory? If I did swim, was I stealing his identity? If I was sad, I was ungrateful. If I was happy, I was betraying the family's grief. One Christmas when I was 12, I'd hoped for a new bike, something that was mine. Instead, I found his old bike under the tree, restored and repainted. We thought you'd like something of his. My mom said, eyes bright with what she thought was beautiful gesture. I smiled and said thank you because that's what good replacement children do. But inside, I felt like I was disappearing. The bike wasn't the only thing I inherited. I got his room, his books, his place at the dinner table. I got his life piece by piece, whether I wanted it or not. Think about this. What happens to a child who grows up believing their worth is tied to honoring someone else's memory? College was the first time I existed where nobody knew about him. For 4 years, I was just Adam. It was terrifying and liberating. I discovered I liked poetry. I was good at making people laugh. I preferred small groups to parties. I actually hated swimming, something I'd never been allowed to admit, but even 200 miles from home I couldn't escape. Phone calls were filled with comparisons. You're taking engineering like Adam wanted to. You joined Honor Society. Adam would have loved that. Here's what I learned. Sometimes the people who love us most hurt us in ways they never intend. Their pain becomes our burden to carry. After college, I moved home briefly to save money. His room was a shrine again. Bed perfectly made swimming medals displayed books arranged just as he'd left them. Where do I sleep? The couch is comfortable, my mom said. I was 23, a college graduate with a job offer, sleeping on the couch, because a dead boy's bedroom was more sacred than my need for space. That's when I understood this wasn't about love. Love would have made room for me. This was about guilt, grief, and refusal to let go. My relationship suffered. How do you explain you're competing with a ghost? I dated Sarah for 2 years. Sweet, patient Sarah, who tried to understand why I flinched at family gatherings. You disappear when they talk about him, she said after a difficult dinner. She was right. I had learned to disappear. It was safer than competing with perfection. Ask yourself, how many of us learn to disappear rather than risk not being enough? Everything changed when my father died. I was 28, still trying to be a son to a mother who'd never learned to see me. Dad had been sick for months. Cancer that gives you time to say goodbye, but not enough to fix what's broken. After the funeral, cleaning his study, I found a box labeled, "Personal, not for the memorial." Inside were his journals spanning from before my brother's death through my high school graduation. I almost didn't read them. But grief makes us curious about pain. The early entries showed a father's love for his energetic son. Then came the entry 3 days after the accident. He's gone. Our bright boy is gone, and I don't know how to breathe without him. Then entries after I was born. We named the baby Adam. Every time I look at him, I see what we lost. I try to love him for who he is, but all I can think about is who he's not. Adam brought home straight A's again. He tries so hard to make us proud. But all I can think is that his brother never had to try this hard. Page after page of my father's guilt. His struggle to love me while grieving his lost son. Then near the end, an entry from my graduation. Watched Adam give the valedictorian speech today. He's remarkable, kind, intelligent, thoughtful in ways his brother never was. I realized we've been trying to raise our dead son instead of loving our living one. We've made Adam live in a shadow that was never his to bear. The last entry 2 months before his death. I'm running out of time to make this right. Adam deserves better than parents who've been mourning so long they forgot how to celebrate. I hope someday he can forgive us. I sat on the floor and cried. For him, for all of us. For the boy who'd spent his life trying to earn love that should have been freely given. Sometimes truth doesn't set you free immediately. Sometimes it just helps you understand why you've been in prison. Armed with truth, I had a choice: stay angry, or use it as a starting point for something different. I invited my mother for dinner and put the box on the table. I found Dad's journals. Her face went white. Adam, you shouldn't have. Read them. Why not? Because they're full of truth we've been avoiding. For the first time, I saw her really look at me. Not through grief or memory, but at me. I know you loved him, I said. But I've spent 28 years trying to be worthy of existing in his shadow, and I'm tired. She cried. Not dignified memorial tears, but ugly, raw sobs of someone whose defenses finally crumbled. We didn't know how to love you without betraying his memory, she said. But Mom, my life matters too. We talked honestly for the first time. She told me about her guilt, about thinking keeping his memory alive was more important than building new ones with me. I told her about growing up as a replacement, about feeling like a consolation prize rather than a wanted child. I don't want to erase him, I said. But I need to exist alongside his memory, not underneath it. The hardest conversations are often the ones we need most. Change didn't happen overnight, but it began. My mother started therapy. Together, we went through the house. Not erasing his memory, but making space for my life alongside his. We kept some photos, but hung pictures of me too. We turned his shrine into a guest room. When I got promoted, my mom said, "I'm so proud of you." Not, "Your brother would have been proud." Just proud of me. At 30, I'm learning who I am when I'm not trying to be someone else. I'm not a swimmer. I'm terrible at it. I'm a runner. I love the solitude, the rhythm. I'm not loud like he was. I'm quieter, more thoughtful. I prefer books to parties, deep conversations to small talk. I'm dating Elena, who sees my sensitivity as strength, my careful nature as wisdom. When I told her my story, she said, "That must have been hard, but look how empathetic it made you." I still think about him sometimes, the brother I never met. But now with curiosity rather than burden. The most radical thing you can do is decide you're worth loving exactly as you are. If you're listening and recognizing yourself in my story, if you felt like you're living in someone's shadow, I want you to know, you are not a replacement. You are not a second choice. You are the first and only version of you this world will ever get. Your sensitivity, your quirks, your way of seeing the world, these aren't flaws to fix. They're gifts only you can give. To parents who might recognize their mistakes, it's never too late to see your children clearly. To the replacement children, the invisible ones, you already are worthy. You always were. I'm 30 just learning to take up space without apologizing. Learning that my quiet nature is wisdom, that my sensitivity is a superpower. I'm not the second version of anyone. I'm the first version of me. And so are you.